Second now. Hey, this is Adam Post. How you doing? We have a Comics Gate tonight focus on the amazing Vinnie T. We're going to be talking about his background. We're going to be talking about his comics. We're going to be talking about things that he did in the past that got him to where he is. I always like to bother Vinnie about his history designing toys because his toys were just so fantastic. He worked for a bunch of different companies, freelancers. He did sculptures, and it's just so interesting. I want to hear more about it. I want to hear some of the stuff that Vin worked on. And we're also lucky enough to have Alejandro Garcia, who's helping us. And Alejandro started Deltaverse and also has upcoming comics projects. And Deltaverse is a group that we have on Twitter and Discord. And what that is that allows us to work with other independent comic book publishers and creators. And some of the people involved in Deltaverse are myself, so you know it's good, as well as Vinnie. And, of course, Alejandro's company. But we also have Kyle Ritter is involved with us with Starblades, and Mandy from Wart the Wizard, and Micah Curtis, who is doing a book called Englewood, and even the great Von Klaus that we love so much, who does Monster MD, a book that everybody's crazy about. So, yeah, it's very interesting. If you're a comics publisher, an aspiring comics publisher, we're going to put the link in the description, and we'll give you an opportunity to try and get in touch with us, and you may be able to join the few, the proud, the brave, the Deltaverse. All right, let's go ahead and jump right over first to Vinnie's campaign. And what I want to do is go over Vinnie's campaign, have Vinnie do a quick pitch for us, and then kind of discuss the story and really get us to know a little bit more about City of Venus. A lot of you have seen it before, but I like to have an opportunity to spend like a nice, good long session here discussing Vinnie's background and really discussing the campaign in detail, getting some extra secret stuff out of Vinnie that he hasn't told anybody else. Vinnie, your secrets are coming out. Are you comfortable with that? Yes.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
You're ready, anyway. You're ready to break it loose. And Alejandro, you and I had a great chat the other night with our other buddy, Nerd Wonder, who may mysteriously join us tonight. We will see how it goes. But I love your feedback and your questions as an artist and a designer and somebody with a lot of passion and some really great stories in his head too. So feel free to interrupt at any point and ask Vinnie exciting questions. So Vinnie, tell us what the City of Venus is all about.
Well, City of Venus, it's an action sci-fi story that's set in a post-apocalyptic world. It centers around this woman who unknowingly has the power to save the world or destroy it.
Now, so she doesn't know that she has the power?
This is very...
When you say...
Correct.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry, go ahead.
The way that I start this story... Well, yeah. The way that I start this story is the viewer learned everything with the main character. So there's problems with her memory. Something had happened to her. She wakes up on this city that's pretty much like a barren wasteland. There's no power, energy, anything, except for this floating city that happens to be there. And it houses like the most brilliant minds, the ultra elite scientists, you name it. And they're keeping themselves above everyone else. And they've been doing it for centuries. So they experiment on people. Because what they're trying to do in that city is they want to prolong their lives. They want to stay in power as long as they can. Because people who have power, what do they want? They want more power. But what always gets everyone? It's death in the end, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they're trying to make their existence permanent. And they keep failing, though. They don't have the proper technology. There's something missing. And so the people that are like the failed experiments, they toss back down on this kind of barren world that's been kind of destroyed from centuries of war and everything else. And then underneath all that, you have survivors, you have the scavengers, and they're trying just to live and stay hidden. But this woman, she pops up there, and like I said, the story focuses around her in the beginning. So this very first issue, it's essentially the tip of the iceberg. We're just scratching the surface of this story because I wanted to just get everyone into the world. I want them to know kind of like almost like the rules of the world, what's going on, and setting the stage because does have a connection to this floating city that's going to be revealed later on in the stories.
Alejandro, you're still with us, right?
But
Yeah.
so
All right, Al, how do you, I love post-apocalyptic stories. How do you feel about them?
Yeah, I've always pretty much liked them. I actually, I like. There's a game that I play that deals not necessarily post-apocalyptic, but a calamity, that happens, and people are locked down in that city, and your objective is, once the game releases, will be to escape from the city. So
It's always fascinating. Like I love destruction, but never on Twitter. I'm always nice on Twitter. But I like this. I like that aspect of destruction. But like not everybody's dead. It's like when you mess up a pile of ants, and it's like, whoa, everything's all over the place, and they're going crazy. So you never know what you're going to see.
Right.
And I know, Vinny, I think you got some zombies in here and stuff. But before we get into the zombies, let me ask you a question. Are you telling people what her name is yet? Can I ask you what her name is?
yeah, we're calling her Jess in the story. As friends of her memory, and she's asked by the character packet, which her name's Trista. She asks her after they kind of escape a very messed up situation, and they're trying to get back to safety. So yeah, so that's her name. It's Jess.
Gotcha. All right. And how many pages is this going to be again? I always like to ask how many pages a book is.
This one is 28 pages, front cover to back cover. If I hit one of my stretch goals, I'm going to add an extra 4 pages of sketches, layouts, like behind the scenes stuff.
Nice. So 28 plus 4 if we hit the stretch goal. Cool. And this is issue
We're
1
aiming for 32, but
is this going to be an ongoing series?
this is issue 1, correct?
Okay. Is this ongoing?
I'm looking towards. Well, I'm looking towards about 6 issues, but the next issues are going to be oversized count, so closer to like 40 pages.
Okay. Cool. As long as people love it as much as you do, there'll be more of them, right? That's
Oh
the
yeah,
plan.
totally.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
beautiful.
I'm telling this story.
I remember you and I were on
Thanks, man.
you and I were on Ethan Van Sciver's show together, and I noticed that like her eyes are ridiculous. They're like 3-dimensional somehow. It's just amazing what you did with them. And EVS was like, yeah, that's your portraiture work, right? He noticed. He knows it as well. Like you got
Right, yeah.
I don't have I know what's awesome. I just look at it and be like, well, it's really, really cool, but I can't say why. But you guys, you artist guys know all the secrets. What do you think of those eyes, Alejandro? It's pretty good, right?
Yeah, it reminds me of like Witchblade and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, you got to kind of
Thanks, man.
Witchblade feel going.
I'm just wondering why she has that wrap on her ankle.
I didn't notice that detail.
Oh, yeah, no, I get into everything. Yeah, I get into everything later on.
Exactly, you can't know about that yet, because then it's going to go into story.
Man, we had Wes on from Goodland last night, and we were asking Wes from Goodland questions about his book, and he didn't want to tell us nothing. And we're like, "Come on, Wes, don't have to tell us how it ends or like every secret, but you got to let people know, like, at least what we're sort of dealing with here." And he got great. His book Goodland is going to be fantastic. Another apocalypse story. We love apocalypses in COMICSGATE. The more apocalypses it is, the better.
Right.
Floating city with the villains.
That's right.
Alita?
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Alita Battle Angel? That's what it reminds me of.
What about
Well,
that?
also, it reminds me of Alita. Well, that part of it reminds me of Alita Battle Angel, but it also reminds me of, I don't know why, the first thing I thought of was Night of the Comet, which is a movie from the 80s. Oh, you never seen it? You should watch it. Yeah,
I haven't seen it either.
Oh, come on, Adam. Gosh,
I know. I love apocalypses, and I watched like 50 apocalypse movies when we started on College of the Dead. Like I just was like, I'm gonna watch every like crack in the earth and stuff like that, and a million of these freaking movies. And And you get a lot out of it.
I'll tell you the one thing that. Well, I'll tell you the one thing that drives me crazy is when people have post-apocalyptic settings and stuff, but yet there is a group of people that are just, it's tremendous. There's so many survivors. In my story, it is barren. There isn't anyone alive, you know. I'm making sure that it is also a very scary place to be. So like when you see those things that you think are zombies, they're not. They are the failed experiments, and there's going to range in all different kinds. It's not just going to be these regular ones that you see there. I have a lot of surprises in store for this.
Wow. All technology is dead except for the city floating in the sky and those who inhabit it. Yep. The ultra elite. It's always the ultra elite.
Yeah, see, that's why I said it reminded me of Alita, because, you know, that's the city she's trying to get to, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Our friend Clint Stokey also does Sweetcast, has a book that's sort of in the same concept of Another City in the Sky. But it's we better watch out for that. When the elites are like, you know what, what we really need is a city in the sky. You're like, hey, wait a minute here. We've seen this before. You're not going to have a city in the sky. And then Vinny is giving us a warning here.
Well, I'll tell you one thing though. Unlike most of the other stories, I'm going to actually show how and why that city is in the sky.
Wow.
Most people don't go into that.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
going to show it.
I think
it's part. It's part of the main story. It's very important.
This is some serious.
I love your what do you call it? Your Back to the Future 2 inspiration for the footwear. I like that.
Oh, yeah. No, there's some unique things I put in here, but yeah,
I mean,
I'm a fan
come
of
on,
so many
anybody, any, like, there's just no getting around it. Any time people make, you know, shoes like that, everybody's been in. That's where it comes from. The inspiration comes from Back to the Future 2, because I've always tried to draw shoes when it comes to the characters that I have. Like because you know, it was always typical to have like a one piece suit or these boots or whatever. You know, it's typical for like superhero type stuff. But I always wanted mine to have, you know, shoes that you know, were like one big sort of like a Velcro thing or something, you know, and then the soles to have the what do you call it, the segments and all of that. So yeah, but that's where it came from.
artist stuff and design stuff. I love that city. That's I would be living up there with the elite guys throwing the monsters on the ground. Yeah, that'd be my thing.
That was all kind of freehand. I was doing a painterly style to come up with a certain look for the city. I was just going to do like a rough, and then I was going to actually pencil it properly. But I kept working it, and it was looking better and better. So I just kept going.
You know about like that? Somehow with the color and the light, yeah, I can almost hear like a hum. You know, just looking at it, you can sense sound coming from it. Like a dull.
That's your computer.
No, my computer isn't doing anything. Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool. Did this take a long time to do?
Yeah. That particular page, I'm going to say maybe 2 or 3 days worth of work, on and off.
Wow. I don't know if you're doing posters or not with this. I guess we'll get to the stretch goals in a sec. I'm sorry, all the perks in a second, but
it was 2 days. One day to do it, and one day to convince yourself that the perspective is fine. It's fine. Nobody's gonna say anything about the perspective.
No, I felt solid about the perspective. It's the one thing I tell people when I go on a lot of streams too. I say, because I'm all self-taught, and I stress you have to learn perspective. You have to learn anatomy. Those are the basics.
Yeah.
If you don't get that down, if your foundation's messed up, that house is going to be lopsided. You know.
Very cool.
I spent like 22 years away from comics. Like as far as that was the original goal, was to become a comic book artist, and so got into music, and then things just happened. I just got away from it. But then of course COMICSGATE is what inspired me to get back into it. So then I took a class with CG Master Academy and took a dynamic sketching with Peter Hahn, and took a perspective class. But
Oh, wow.
the perspective class is like
cool.
for, you know, animation perspective, and it's sort of like it's not architectural perspective, but it's supposed to be a very accurate eyeball perspective, you know. So
Right.
and now every time I see that, I'm like looking, I'm like, oh, that character is way too big, and you know, the like his horizon line is all, you know, or her horizon line is not right or whatever, and it's actually a blessing and a curse, you know. It was a blessing
Yeah.
to
You
learn
become
it.
yeah.
Exactly.
You become an art snob.
Oh my
I
gosh.
was like that in my early 20s. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Dude, I ripped everything apart.
Man.
Look at the stomach on this
Yeah, I
character.
know.
She's working out, no doubt about it.
Hmm.
Definitely draw beautiful ladies, Vin. For people that like beautiful ladies, definitely got to get this comic.
Oh my God, Ethan, he lost his mind over this.
Yeah.
He was drooling on every page, which was awesome.
Yeah.
I launched it on his stream. That's where I
Oh,
launched it.
cool.
Yeah, because actually he
It's a
caught
great-
the tail end of my art book, my art book campaign.
Mm.
He caught the tail end of that, and then like the following day, because he said everyone did so great, he invited us again. So I was going to launch this like, you know, around now, but instead I launched it early because of you guys and him that were, you know, pushing and talking so much about all these great projects coming up, and you know, so I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to do it. So the following day, he's like,
Cool.
oh, what's the link to your art book thing again? I went, oh, actually, I have City of Venus.
Yeah. You're like, bing, bang, boom. Here it is.
So-
Time to go.
Yeah, and he was like, holy shit.
That dude in the back is not a zombie. He's even worse than a
No.
zombie. Like a freaking.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like his face.
Yeah, yeah, his eyes are glowing. I mean, there's
you
something
are
else going on for
attention to the eyes. Wow.
Yeah,
man.
and something tells me it's
Yeah.
related to the power that's coming out of her wristband or whatever.
Yeah, there's a few big connections in this book, but
There's a lot of big connections. Connections. And we're not going to sneak that out of you. We're not going to sneak it out of you.
I know.
Yeah,
Look,
well, no,
there it is.
there's actually
part of the book.
Yeah, you're going to see something really cool happen in this issue. I was really tempted of showing it, but I think I'm going to keep it for the fans who back the book.
Hang on to it.
Yeah.
Tuck that to the chest.
It's a really cool scene.
These girls dressed
because it also it also opens up a lot more questions as well.
Girls who are watching this is exactly how you're supposed to dress. We appreciate it very much. It's good for dealing with these zombie monster guys. And you look great. You feel great. You're not hot. You're comfortable. Good for both.
Again, there are reasons. There are reasons I will be getting into them, believe it or not. The main character specifically, the hot chick with the red jacket. Again, essentially, there's nothing really around, so it's like they're literally wearing shit until it rots off.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, where are you gonna get another shirt? You can't just like swing by Target or something.
Exactly.
You're not gonna take it off a zombie. You don't know where they've been. So yeah.
Oh yeah. I get into that too. Yeah.
Nice. This is really nice. So did you do this all in digital media?
No. It's all hand penciled. I'll scan them in, and then I might touch up certain areas with like digital inks, things that I really want to a little bit more. It'll be very, very clear and clean, and then I paint. So I mean, I'm painting over most of my work, but for this particular project, though, I wanted a lot more line work to pop up. So you'll be able to see that too.
And when you paint digitally.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, I use Photoshop.
Are you offering as perks any of the pages?
Not on this one, but my next campaign, my next comic book campaign, rather, I will be.
Cool.
yeah, that one I went extremely tight with the pencils. These I went a little bit more loose because I knew I wanted to do more grittiness with the actual painting of the page.
Gotcha.
But because while I'm pushing this, I'm actually working on another project that's a totally different genre.
Sure.
It's essentially it's an action book, an adventure book. It's a pirate story. So those pages, I am going sick with detail on.
You could only do a pirate
Yeah.
story through crowdfunding, really, because a comic book store looking at me like, oh, a pirate story, a Western story, we don't want to do this kind of stuff. But just because you being passionate about it, being able to show people what it's about, talk about the project, people are going to be very interested. Yeah. And I hope there's a lot of girls in it.
Oh, yeah, it's the thing is, the thing is, like with comic shops and stuff, it's strictly the big two that are either keeping them afloat or having them crash and burn at the moment. So that's where that problem lies. Independents aren't saving comic shops. You know what I mean? They thrive on Marvel and DC. So if they don't up their game, someone else has to. And in the end, retailers are still suffering though. But that's kind of why things are the way they are.
Nobody who buys this comic, though, is going to be suffering. There's a lot of attention here. There's a lot of great opportunities with the color. None of this is hacked out. None of this is like, all right, I got to just finish the page. I don't see any cheats. I mean, I'm not an artist, but I've seen and bought a lot. I don't know how a lot of work, tens of thousands of pages of work, and I'm just making. I mean, I published probably more than 1,000 comics. So sometimes I know when people are cheating on stuff, and when they're
like Zach says, using models and filters.
That's third. Yeah, what you're referring to is when your boys Zach and Luna, the Comics Matter channel, talk about how people are using 3D models. And just absurd of reference.
There's a Batman artist. Yeah, there's a Batman artist that does that. It drives me bananas.
Yeah, and it's just totally.
You can use them, but the point is that they're like basically tracing over it instead of like doing it. Just using it as a reference, which is what it's supposed to look like. I mean, to be as a reference rather than
right. The reference is not the art. The reference is the reference for the art.
Right, exactly.
It's only an editor. Their editor has to tell them that for their dignity, but at least their editor.
But that makes me feel like, well, what I personally think is that just on that subject is that
of course
the editor. The reason that I think that that's happening is because they're not as good. I mean, except with some exceptions of only like maybe a handful of exceptions, but most of the time it's these people that they're hiring that, they're Tumblr artists, to use a term or whatever. And so they're really not that great. So when it comes to something, they're on they got a boot on their neck. So it's like, well, I'm going to have to make this look as good as I can. And then they just go and, grab a model and do it like that. Cause a lot of people are using Clip Studio Paint and it comes with, a whole bunch of different models and you could position them and do all that, so.
It's just not making it into any COMICSGATE books, that's for sure.
No.
I don't know if you've seen this before, Al, but I hear Vinny talk about this book, and this girl looks beautiful and dangerous. So this is part of tier 2, and we're going to look at all the tiers. But this art of Vinnie Tartamella book is darned interesting. Was that published before your book, or was that done just for your book?
Well, it says
okay. So it's volume 2. Volume 1 is actually, if you scroll down a little bit low.
Yeah, sure.
I actually have the link to that. But yeah, that's the campaign that Ethan caught the tail end of, which is, again, it's a 52-page arc where I have just a whole bunch of different stuff. I have pin-up portrait work, superhero stuff, you name it. It's like a culmination of like
Adam, you got to get your screen to stay up. I'm sorry to cut you off, Vinny, but you got to get your screen to stay up so that it keeps showing the images, because if he talks, then it shows him.
Oh. All right,
can
hold on.
miss
I'm going to
out.
fix that.
Yeah, people can miss out on what you're scrolling past.
Yeah, we don't want that. Thank you for that, Al. I
No
appreciate
problem.
it.
Sorry
We got
about
a
that.
lock on it now. It's locked, as we call it.
Sorry about that, Vinny.
Yeah,
All right,
no,
good.
thank you.
No, it's all right. It's all good.
So
But
this
yeah,
is,
so the first one, yeah, the first one is like a culmination of the majority of my work, like fan favorite because I've sold at conventions and things like that. But yeah, I have superhero stuff in there. I have portrait work. I have pinups. You know, it's a ton of stuff. Monsters, and I split them up into 2 books. So I kept them in a comic book format because most people they like keeping kind of like all their collections from their favorite artists kind of all together.
yeah.
So my very first campaign was a ghost story through the woods. It was a 3-issue miniseries, and then I launched this one pretty much like right after what was the art book. So like I wanted people to get more familiar with what I could do. It's not just because I know a lot of people get like typecast almost like actors do in certain roles. So they think that maybe all I do is horror or ghost like, but I don't. I do kind of everything. So I wanted to showcase that as well, and for fans to get more familiar with my work.
Yeah, great idea. It's something
Because
you
like
can always,
I
I was just saying,
yeah,
with
of
an art book,
course.
you can kind of it's you sell it again and again and again, and people love art books. The people that love them.
Yeah, total.
Yeah, and then they
Yeah.
they become a fan of yours as well, and then they'll kind of buy whatever you're doing because they love you.
Right. Well, that's I made sure that this one stayed in demand. So like even afterwards, like I've been making good money on it because people are going back to get it. So volume 2, I kind of made exclusive to this campaign with City of Venus at the moment. So that's what my tier 2 is basically City of Venus signed by me and volume 2 of the art book signed by me. So I thought it was a pretty good value as well, and something great for the fans.
And how many pages is the
But
book?
yeah, they're 52 front cover to back cover.
Cool.
They're an extra thick stock, so they stay in good shape.
Are they color as well?
Yeah, full color, full color. That's why I had some examples that were underneath, like the
Yeah. Okay.
the other Alice bottle, the Centaur.
Yeah.
You know.
And who's that? I just noticed him now. I've seen that cover of volume 2 for a while. Who's that little monster guy under the desk over there? Whatever. Oh, not desk. Oh,
Yeah, it's my Dark Alice.
okay. Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Art from volume 2. Who
Yeah,
doesn't want that? Maybe just do
Right.
sexy girl pinup book. Forget all your other science fiction stories. My goodness. Look at your use of color.
Well, I got a book.
Would you color a
I
cover
have
for me if I need some?
I have a full.
I love Kyle Ritter, but
Yeah.
you can't always get him. All right, we got to talk about that. My goodness. All right, let's start with perks. We get lost in your work here a little bit. It's so damn cool. So you don't have something that you featured. You just kind of listed them all out. Sometimes people have featured listings where they pick one item that's a pricey item to put it there. All right, so you have a signed. Well, it says here signed art book next to.
Yeah, all right. That's the one thing I had to correct people on too. The other stream I had the other day, a similar conversation. Because I set this up all in one day to make sure I was able to get on Ethan's show with it to launch, and I accidentally picked the wrong file. So it says signed art book.
All right,
it's supposed to say signed comic book.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a signed comic book. It's $20.
Right.
There is an addition to some estimated shipping on that. I'm sure the shipping's oopsie doopsie. What is the shipping? It says estimated. All right, well, that's okay. It's going to be reasonable, whatever it is. All the COMICSGATE guys are reasonable on that. All right, so that's $20. You get the signed comic. It's 28 pages, unless ink, full color, gorgeous color. You don't waste any of that color ink. Gorgeous color. And we get an additional 4 pages of sketches and development work. If we hit the stretch goal, we'll get to those at the bottom. Now, you give people a pretty damn good deal here for 2 signed comics then.
Yeah, I had just put this up literally yesterday, I believe. But yeah, I wanted to give people the opportunity to get 2 copies because I've been hearing and seeing it more often, and a couple other friends they had made mention of it as well. That
Yeah.
you should be able to offer them at least a perk that has 2 copies. So most people like to either send it out to get graded and they keep it sealed, and then they want one to read. So I
Yeah.
figured, if you do this, it's like buy one get one half price.
That's a hell of a deal. That's a hell of a deal. And the shipping is the same?
Yeah, same.
So you're really saving on shipping. So for anybody that would have bought 2, especially,
Right.
but for anybody else, like you're going to spend $20, you're going to spend $30. The shipping's the same. You get a whole extra copy. They're both signed. That would be something I would go for.
And it's good for team up for international orders.
Yeah, it's excellent for a team up
Absolutely.
for international orders. We see that all the time.
Yep.
Boy, that's missing on my campaign. I'm gonna have to add. I will. If I only knew a guy that could help me make a graphic that would show 2 of those covers with blood behind it. But
Yeah, I don't know anybody.
if you run into somebody, Alejandro, you tell them what to do. In fact,
Open your window and shout out.
yeah, if you know somebody who would do one of those for like the single book, 2 single books, and 2 sets of the ash can and the other cut book, just put out on the street, see what comes back.
Yeah, everybody that puts down their money, they can get whatever they want.
They got a friend in the business. As long as they pay their friends, they can get.
Yeah, exactly. That's how.
A whole secondary conversation going on.
Yeah, basically,
Alejandro helped me out, and I don't want to not pay attention.
He's trying to seduce me right now. That's what he's going to do.
That's what people say shit like that to me. I'm just talking. I'm not doing that. Look at this. So look at my cover of the individual book. We're just talking about Alejandro. He's a graphic artist as well as a writer, as well as an artist, as well as a musician, as well as he does promo videos, and we got to have to talk about that. He does a lot of stuff. But Alejandro was very generous with me because Von Klaus, who was also very generous with me, made a suggestion like, Adam, why don't you dress up your graphics a little bit? So if you see like on the right here, my right, the College of the Dead cover, it's a beautiful cover, but it's placed in a background that's gray. It's a little bit boring. So Von Klaus suggested for Monster MD, who's part of Deltaverse, our independent comics association, really, of indie COMICSGATE people. So we're going to talk more about that too. But Alejandro's like, I can help you out with that blood thing. And he took care of me. He made that happen. And since I already had bids, I couldn't change the other images. Indiegogo doesn't let you. But I was able to do it on this big one. And look at the difference between this, which is beautiful, but this, which is beautiful and really grabs you because of the graphics effect. So that's what we're talking about, not to get all silly or off track. But yeah, can make a difference. But this is why we help each other here in COMICSGATE and Deltaverse and CG Delta is the same thing. But we do that because we all benefit. We talk about it. We're interesting guys. The creative work that you guys are doing is amazing. If for those of us that are not artists, we look at this and we're like, we don't even understand how it's possible that you go from a blank page and you turn out something beautiful. So,
right. And just so that it, to give the full complete idea, what it started, it started as CG Delta, which was just, basically something away. I mean, it isn't limited to COMICSGATE. It's COMICSGATE, Indie Comics, Team Comics, all that. But the basis of it was, one day I heard Ethan when he said about having so many subscribers on YouTube, and it was his opinion, and that's what he said it was, I mean, everybody can have their opinion. I don't disagree with him. I love the guy.
Yeah.
As far as it does work that way, it can work that way. But that's the way that he felt like was the most surefire way to have like high number, backers and success. Right. So what I said, well, you know what? Coming from YouTube, because I have a main channel that's like 5.5K subs, and just learning all of the ins and outs of that, I developed in my head. I was like, well, I don't think you really need. I want to show that there is another way to do it, because there's a lot of people, a lot of creators who either they just don't, they have great mind for comics and stuff, but they may not have a great mind to make a YouTube channel or to come up with content every day or whatever.
Yeah,
You know,
it's true because you know,
Ethan's one of those rare people that can do that. You know,
he
he
can do it
has
all.
that ability. So what I wanted to do was give an opportunity to show that we don't have to have like a YouTube channel. You don't necessarily you know, you can grow your Twitter, but I mean, until that happens, what we can do is basically take everyone's followers, and each person can use all of those followers at once at any given time, and do that by us. Whenever they post something, we retweet it, and that goes out to everyone at the same time, and then it's just mutually done back. And then not only that, we can say, okay, this guy has had a successful campaign, and this guy knows how to letter, or this guy knows how to color, so we can also do an inner hiring of people for different things, you know, or work deals or whatever we do in the background, and then just share our knowledge, and then help people who have already said, oh, don't forget to, you know, make sure you put your bank information in as soon as you do the campaign, because the sooner the better, because otherwise it can cause delays in your payments and things like that I didn't know. So we just share all of that information along with promoting each other. So by doing that, we create this circular or reciprocal, you know, type of a thing, so that we don't necessarily have to have 1,000, 2,000, 100,000, 25,000 subscribers on YouTube. You know, we already have some audience that we got built in on each one of us, and we just make them all of our audience. You know,
and if one of us is in trouble, you know, you know, we almost like we're superheroes. We're like, all right, this guy needs some help. What can we do to help him? You know, and just having other people to talk to that are in the same situation. So yeah, it's a great association of great people. And I thought we were all COMICSGATE, but if we're not, it's fine. You know, just people that can help each other, that have knowledge.
Well, this is the way that I look at that as far as that part goes. It doesn't matter if you come up under any of the other banners. I know that not everybody in COMICSGATE would agree with that, but the reason I say is that I believe that people have chosen to be with COMICSGATE hashtag or whatever, and some haven't, but they all hold the same ideals. They all want the same thing, what COMICSGATE originally was talking about. But then, you know, like we talked about, as far as like seeing things that go on in the community, you know, it draws some people away, and they don't want to associate with that. You know,
I guess for us, it's really just about, if you want to help other small publishers to have success,
right,
you're the right guys.
But we definitely have a love for COMICSGATE, and we welcome those creators.
Yeah.
You know, but as long as everyone gets along, it's no big deal. And so what ends up happening is, the other thing I wanted to show was that I don't have to get on Ethan's show, you know, and it's great if someone does, right? And there's odds. Someone could come out with something 2 days old, and Ethan just happens to get a hold of it, and he's like, hey, I like it, and put it on the show. So what we're dealing with then is we're dealing with odds, right? And so instead of me worrying about the odds, all I got to do is have people in my group, right? And those people that have been on or will go on or whatever, then I just tell them, hey, you know, we're all this group together. And they say, yeah, you know, check out our group. We got books from them. Here's their Twitter. You can see all the different campaigns that we got. Here's the YouTube channel, so on and so forth, and plug in us. So I'm on Ethan's show. Vinny's on there. Adam's on there. Everybody gets the chance to be on there without actually having to get a link.
Right, because the more momentum everybody has, the more momentum everybody gets, and it's healthy. Sorry, Vin, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, it's as labels, it should be just about helping one another, because we're all trying to do the same thing. You know, we want to tell good stories, fun stories. Yeah, you know, that's what's cool.
And take care of these customers, make them really glad they bought our stuff. You know,
absolutely.
All right, let's keep going through
First and foremost.
You know, I talk for a long time. I don't want to keep you guys here all night, but I want to make sure we do get through your tiers, and we can show it, and people get to see this. So signed comic book and signed art book. So both of them are signed.
Right.
Both books for $50. Well, people
Exactly.
like
You
that
get
art
the
book.
50.
That art book is going to be
Dude,
selling
they're
forever, Vinny. That art book, look at you. 37 claimed.
yeah,
Your retail was 20
yeah,
on that other one. You pulled another $1,200 or something just so far. You have another 30 days left or something on the campaign, whatever, a long time. And you already pulled $1,200 more just out of that art book, or out of the volume 2 art book. Wow.
Yeah.
And you're still selling more.
And that's why.
Wow. It's great.
Yeah, that's why the link for the first one is there as well. Yeah, a little bit near the bottom, but yeah, same reason why. Because I want everyone to see this work, all the hard work I put into it, and what to kind of expect for future projects. That I can pretty much hit everything, like every genre, every style, realism, cartoon, whatever.
The thing too is that straight up is the more people support Vinny's work, the more books Vinny's able to do. So, the more you could support it, where you pick a campaign that you can afford. Sorry, you could pick a perk that you can afford from the campaign, or at least, retweet them, put the word out. People that would like this stuff, especially the volume of art, volume 2 of the Art of Vinny T is just really, really attractive. And you get this one with a head sketch as well for 120. So you're getting those 2 plus the head sketch. Okay. Original artwork there. And then you get it. Wow. You have this big pack. A lot of people went for the big package. That's awesome. 3 ain't bad. So signed comic book, signed art book, volume 1 and 2, and the head sketch, $150. That is not bad. Not bad.
No, that's pretty good. Yeah, I limited that one for a specific reason. It's I have a lot of work on my plate as is. So if this goes in demand, well, it should be. And if those tiers are still open, and I got so much other work, I want to just make sure I have things done in a timely manner. Because like in my other campaigns, my previous campaigns, I get the books out super fast. Like there's almost no wait. That's very rare for people. Because I know some of them are still working on campaigns when they launch them. Like the work's not done. My work is done on these. They were done on the first project, which was in total 88 pages for the Through the Woods. They were broken up into 3 floppies. It was tough to do. Everything was printed correctly. Everything signed, packed. I did it all though, so all my backers get fulfilled no matter what. That's just how I want to keep doing it. I want to guarantee the best for fans.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love that you deliver, because the truth of it is as good as the work is, it's always diminished a little bit when people wait for it longer than they thought they were going to. And, it gets to them, but it kind of gets to them eventually. Now, something like Cyberfrog with its chromium covers and all that are going to blow people away when it's in their hands. I'm looking forward to getting my copy of Cyberfrog, but just the same, it's fantastic to be able to you make a promise, you deliver it, and you go back, you show them again what you could do. They know what kind of guy you are. They know what to expect when you're going to offer a book. Now let me ask you, Al, are you comfortable just going through your project again?
No, because
we don't really have
this is me personal.
That
this is Vinny. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's Vinny's.
I want to let him have his shine, because I can talk about my stuff anytime.
This is a beautiful.
Cool, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this is a beautiful project.
Man. No. If you want to get in there a little bit, go for it, man.
No.
Yours, I'm cool with that.
The way that I look at it is like this. If I can come on Adam's show anytime. And besides, I feel like this is a good time for you, because people can watch this back. You can post it on your Twitter and so on and so forth. I really don't. Other than talking about like how I was trying to clarify Deltaverse, because I'm sure somebody will watch and then have questions. But other than that, this is your thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. All my stuff is, God's going to bless me anyway. So all this stuff, I don't need to worry about. I'll get my time to shine.
We're all looking out for you. We're going to make sure anything when you're ready to announce what your project and do publicity on it, we're going to be all over that thing like white on rice, as the expression goes, whatever it is, it's going to happen.
For sure.
Yeah, that's why I'm not really tripping about it.
Yeah, no, there's no tripping necessary. Not a single trip. All right. Speaking of,
if we're not friends already, like on Twitter and stuff, just send me one and I'll follow you right back. And yeah, when you're ready to launch and stuff too, yeah, I'm happy to retweet anything and everything.
you will be called on to do a favor, and you may never be called on, but if you are called on to do a favor, you got to do it. No, you do it. Everybody's happy. We help each other, and that's the great thing about it. I am going to zip through quickly on College of the Dead, and then we'll be able to relax a little bit. College of the Dead has been moving along. I have to thank. I was on a couple of shows last week. It went really well. I was on the War Campaign. I was on the War Campaign show. Those guys were nice. We had some laughs. I was on another nice interview with Michael, who's also in our group in Deltaverse. Just a hell of a nice guy. He's got a really exciting looking project that has it's a graphic novel with no dialogue, and it's just beautiful fantasy black and white artwork.
Yeah, dude, that I feel like that's gonna sell pretty well, dude.
It's off the hook. We had a great conversation. It's not on my channel, it's on his channel. But oh my God, it was fantastic. And he and I have a lot more to talk about. He's a lot of very interesting experience. And he was asking about my background in business and comics publishing, and there's how we ran the studio and what we did when we had the comic studio. And it just got very interesting towards the end, but it was 2 hours, and I did my show last night for 3 hours. So it's like the time goes quick. So my passion project, though, right now really is College of the Dead. And College of the Dead is a zombie apocalypse setting. And teachers and students fight for their lives as the dead eat everyone in sight. It's 140 pages. It's completely done. It is a black and white book. The cover is gorgeous. It's like one of the best things I've probably ever made is this cover. And the interiors are black and white. You can see the story pretty well. You get a really good sense for it. There's about a dozen pages we have in sequence, and you can kind of follow what's going on and really see how it goes, and see character reactions. And you'll see it's almost like really being pulled into a zombie apocalypse. And I didn't say that initially, but I realized when I was talking about the book and I was really reading the pages, I'm like, it's really engrossing, like very quickly. And the pacing is excellent. Again, the characterization's excellent. I mean, I'm not the writer, although I did develop it with the writer, Stefan Petruka, who is a super talent. He's done a lot of writing in comics and even outside comics. And he's done strips, so he really understands how to pace a story. He has a unique take on the zombies. It is the zombies you think of, but the things he says about them are very interesting, which is hard to believe, but it's absolutely true. And I've got some very interesting compliments on this work. So I'm a big believer in excellent writing, 5-star writing. And the artwork should be fantastic too. It's just different with artwork, because artwork can be, it'll either totally blow you away or it can also be a little subjective at times. I really like the artist. And this is just book 1. We actually completed book 2 as well already. It's coming out no matter what. Yeah, it's fantastic. He did the cover. We're going to do a reveal on the cover of book 2 this week on one show or another show. I'm supposed to be on 2 more shows this week. We'll see how that goes. But they did a beautiful job, and I'm really proud of it. So the first of all, I like to explain to people because someone asked me, and I'm like, it's a good question. So far the campaign's raised $1,900 US, which is 38% of our flexible goal. But as far as we're concerned, we already covered our goal. We don't need any more money to do this book. The book is done. The books will be printed. They'll be delivered to everybody before Halloween, October 31st, 2019. So they'll be delivered in October. And we do hope to sell more copies. Right now, there's only 4 days left. A bunch of my friends are pushing me to extend the campaign. We may extend the campaign. We may not. We'll see. But the books are going to get there. Number one, everyone will have their books. They will be on time.
I think you should extend it.
See, I told you, my friends keep telling me extend it.
The reason my reasoning behind it is because this hit around the time of Zach's book and some other stuff, so it just kind of gets a little bit lost in the shuffle, which can happen because this is crowdfunding. But I think you should extend it so that way it gets a little bit more time to now that those books have are giving more breathing room now. You'd be able to get in there. But I definitely believe this is going to be optioned.
Yeah. Oh, you mean as a film or TV?
I believe it'll be because it already looks like, and I don't. People can always say, "Oh, well, it's a comic or it's a graphic novel." Yeah, of course it can be optioned, but some of them to me don't look like they should have been optioned. And I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about COMICSGATE. I'm talking about like stuff that I've seen recently that's been on like Netflix or Hulu or whatever. I'm like, what is this garbage? And then you find out it's a, like this new movie, the Kitchen or whatever. It comes from I'm like, when I found out it was a graphic novel, I'm like, oh well, oh yeah, that okay. Then now I can believe it because there's no way I believe that anywhere in that time that these females ran these mobs, but anyway, I digress. But the point is that this, because of what I've seen, what you've shown so far and the story, I see it being filmed. I see it being an actual film. So,
I appreciate that, man.
I really, 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 I mean, I could even hear like how it would intro and everything. So, and I've never even read the book, only what you've shown there, but I just, that's the way I think. I think on not just an art, like drawing level, but I think on musically. And exactly. There you go.
When we talk about your project, like you can go back and see the interview that I had a chance to do with Alejandro and your artist, who I know has a first name, but I always just call him
Ibai Canales. Yeah.
Ibai. I always like to just call him Canales. It just seems cool, like a Madonna kind of thing.
Canales. Everybody likes to call him that. Yeah.
Yeah, as long as he's not insulted by it.
No, he's good.
And he also spoke to me in Spanish. I asked him to.
He likes to refer to himself as Canales sometimes. So
yeah, he ought to. It's just very cool to have one word as a name.
Yeah.
One of my friends used to call me Adam Post, like as one word. So I don't know, but it is fun. But yeah, I appreciate that. My goal with this is I want to do. I mean, originally I wanted to do it quarterly. It may be more like once a year, but I want to keep advancing the universe and the story of these characters in College of the Dead. There's so much that you could do in a story like this. And then as soon as I announced this, like a week or two later, Robert Kirkman dropped out of Zombies. Who saw that coming?
Now you get the market cornered.
Got it cornered. I mean, just so happened we came out with this book. We had Kyle Ritter colors. It's like, all right, this guy's gonna wipe our clean our clocks and wipe us out. We may as well get out with $1 billion and leave it alone. But yeah, man, I'm really passionate about it. I love seeing these comics come together. I'm not an artist. I'm an idea guy, and I understand something about story and something about art. So I just get to work with great people. We put together a great book. So like this first perk we have is the comic book, which is 140 pages, plus the ash can. The ash can is a 100-page book. It has some additional character designs, but like 95% of it is the actual full script that the artist worked from, fully typed on one page. And then on the other page, it's got the layouts that the artist produced. And the layouts aren't the pencils. Yeah, it's just, but it's so cool. So when I got to see this stuff come together, and to me, I'm like, is it just me because it was my idea that it's just so exciting every time to see, development of script and development of layouts? Is it just because like I'm, nerdy about it? And I'm like, I worked with a designer. I'm like, come on, just put this together as a book for me, because other people don't do this, but I don't know why they don't, because you want to see how the book gets made, especially if you make comics and you're a comics fan. You want to see, like,
absolutely, man.
You want to.
That's why I did it. Yeah, that's why I had done it with my projects. I did it on the first one, and I'm doing it on this one.
Good for you.
Because I think it's so damn cool to do that.
So much insight.
You want to see it.
Of course, the plain old comic right here, $25. And for me, I just went with flat shipping on the Ashcan and on the Ashcan comic set is flat shipping of $10, and it's international. And there's flat shipping of $10 international, like U.S. or international, I should say, for both, for the comic as well. And then for the complete set of all books, it's $85 and then $15 shipping anywhere in the world. Now, the art book is interesting. If you've noticed, it's not a coincidence. These are designed to be 2 panels per page. But the right side, so when we got this done, it was another thing where it was like, wow, this art is really, really very cool. But there's lettering all over it. So I worked with the designer and just like, listen, just help me mock up an art book version of this where we have like 1 panel per page, and the panels are like 8 inches by 8 inches. So it's a square book, and you get to see what all of the art looks like, and you're able to generally follow the story, but it's got no word balloons on it. So none of it is obscured. The art is not obscured at all by the word balloons.
Like a storyboard. It's like a storyboard for a movie.
I mean, yeah, I guess even the layouts, like I think, could be effective. I really should just be working on selling the movie instead of talking about it on YouTube. But
exactly,
everybody's telling me like, "What is this a movie yet? Is this gonna like?" Well, I just worked with a really good writer and an artist, and the writer and I made sure that the artist, just did the layouts properly, and he was passionate. He's great, Javier Aranda. And he did a beautiful job. He also drew all of book 2, and I would go to him first for book 3 because I love his look. But yeah, so all 3 of those books, it winds up being like 220 pages, that art book. All 3 of those books are $85 and then $15 for shipping anywhere in the world. And I'm glad to see that some people went for all 3 of the full set. I mean, just so much work goes into producing these. It's great to see people have a chance to buy them. And I love the graphics. I mean, I'm definitely going to be having Alejandro help me in the future to do these future graphics. The mock-ups are beautiful, and the graphic design of the book is beautiful. It's done by Mark Maz, who actually worked with Ethan over at Harris Comics in editorial and design. Mark was, I think he was running the department. I'm not quite sure exactly what he was doing, but he and I have been friends for a long time, and knew each other from comics. So yeah, I'm excited about my project. I mean, I'm just, the only reason why I don't want to extend it, I think, is I feel like in a way it might wind up delaying releasing it, but it's not, because we're going to ship anyway in October, no matter what. So I don't know. That's my issue. I got to sleep on that one. But I love having people get to see it. We definitely want your support. City of Venus, an amazing, beautiful color project, and you can really just see like the love and the attention put into this. This is the kind of book that you want to have in your house, And
every page, dude. Yes. Every page is just teeming with detail. I'm not kidding. Everything you see, like every square inch, has got something cool going on.
I'm really noticing that a lot in COMICSGATE books, particular, is there's so much effort going into every panel, like to every page. That's special. Like you guys are taking it as an opportunity to make every page like an event and exciting.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, if you think about who we like when we talk about it in the anti-CG, or just anti, non agenda comics.
Just mainstream.
Mainstream. These people that talk about us, and then they're like, oh, in the 90s and this and that. But you know what, bro? We had Carlos Pacheco. You know what I'm saying? We had artists like that. We had, gosh, I'm forgetting his name, Jeff Darrow. We had people that were doing all this mega super detail and just paid attention and stuff like that, really cared about it. But all you can talk about is big breasts, and that's all we want. And that's not, I mean, that comes with it, I guess. But at the same time, we want to see what we used to see with artwork. You know what I mean? Yeah. But go ahead.
You want that love.
Time out for a second, guys. It's like you were saying, you're naming those artists. Well, don't forget Greg Capullo.
Oh my God.
Why is he the number one artist at that? Because people still want to see all that detail and the sexiness, because he draws sexy women as well. People want to see all that cool stuff,
Hey
and that's
man,
what they're missing the boat on. You
truth
know?
be told, when he took over for McFarlane on Spawn, like I was hating it because I really didn't like well at the time, I'm 43, so I was, a teenager still pretty much. And I was
Yeah.
like, man, who is this guy? I hate his artwork. I don't want to see this, you know. And I stayed away
But
from a lot of stuff he did because I never liked it. But then, time goes on. But anyway.
Yeah,
well,
because
hold on. Well, see, isn't this fun? Hold on that note, because I think it's kind of this, because a lot of people felt the same thing. But if you remember those issues, those first issues he worked on, they put art by Todd McFarlane and Greg Capullo. So no one knew who was doing what, and Todd's name was always above Greg until issues later in. Later in, because then people started getting used to it, and they see, okay, now the anatomy is a little bit more correct, perspective is a little more correct.
Yeah.
Because Todd, amazing as he was, he didn't do everything 100% the way, anatomically, and he did it McFarlane style, which was over the top, which was in your face. So
Right.
people got used to it. It's almost like they trained them start to like Greg a little bit more, appreciate what he was doing. And then people were like, "Oh my God, Greg's the best," because he is.
Well, what I will say is that when McFarlane was with Marvel, his perspective was right. Like it was better because I've taken some of the old Spider-Man stuff, like when Spider-Man had the symbiote costume and McFarlane was drawing. I actually went in and broke down some panels and broke down his perspective, and the perspective was right. I mean, for the most part, in comic books you can fudge it a little bit, but but for the most part it was good. But then of course once you get into his Spawn days, I think it was that there wasn't an editor like what he had at Marvel, but I also think it was just that he was like, I could just, because how he is like, let's make it look cool, so he just wants to make it cool and bombastic and make everyone say, whoa, look at that shot or whatever, and then whether it's good or not.
Yeah, because while I was working for him, I mean, I saw a lot of what stuck out, what he liked in design, the reasons why he did certain things. Like I learned lessons on that, just seeing kind of how he operated. But yeah, I mean, to that degree as well. Yeah, it's kind of he was always doing his thing his way, and whatever worked for him. But once you have that brand, once you have that big name anyway, people flock over to you. So,
but you know what
it's
the
about
most
getting the
frustrating
better quality.
you know what the most frustrating
What?
thing is though about people like that
What's that?
is that people like Todd McFarlane, if he says like, even if like as an artist and you say, man, dude, that's wrong, or whatever, if he says it's going to sell, it's going to sell. And for those type of people, that's how it works. They people want it, and because they know it's not just one thing, it's all these little things that they put together, and then as a whole people want that, you know what I mean? So sometimes it's not necessary to be like super stickler about everything, which is kind of hard for me sometimes. And that's why I haven't done very much on my own. It's just so simple. And why I have an artist instead of me doing it is just because I feel like if it's not perfect when I do it, then I don't need to do it, So, but people like that, you look at them, you're like, dude, they just do this and people clamor for it. Like, why? But that's the nature of it. The person who's not an expert.
It's like it's like I told you. It's the branding. He built up the name already. He established himself, and that's what kind of people. That's why I mean, like most of the bigger names in COMICSGATE, for the ones who pull in like 5 or 6 figures pretty easily, they do have an audience behind them. They've had that fan base, which I mean, it's fantastic for them. But I mean, at the same time, it's that building the audience thing as well. So if you don't have that behind you, obviously it's going to be tougher to build that audience, build that brand. So
Yeah,
you have
that's
to
true.
go another way. You have to look at all different angles, and that's why, like for me, I know like I've worked for big companies, but I'm like one of those guys where one of the nameless, faceless guys. Like they
Mhm.
don't know until like they start hearing me on podcasts and things, and they're like, oh shit, he did all that. That's amazing, you know. But
Yeah,
I
exactly.
have to build my name. But well, the best way of doing it, I think, is getting proper product out at the right time, making sure our fans, customers, everyone's super happy with it. I don't want delays. I'm a perfectionist myself, so I mean, a lot of the stuff I do, yeah, like projects, I've had work done for a little while, but I wanted to make sure like that I had the proper venue to do it because like I was going to go through Diamond, I was going to go through the proper channels of but then I looked at it, I'm like, well, why would I do that? I mean, they're going to get the majority of the cut. I'm not going to get as much. And since
Mhm.
comic shops are kind of falling to shit right now, who's really going to be investing in a no name out of nowhere? You know what I mean?
Well,
So I'm
Right.
like,
you also don't have
once I start, well,
that connection with the customer is
mhm.
is vital. And you get these direct
Oh,
responses from your other campaigns where they're like, "Oh, Vinny, I just got my package. It's so cool. Thank you so much."
yeah.
And
Because
then
see,
they become more customers.
well, yeah, well, that's the thing too, because I've done a lot of conventions over the years as well, and how I treat the my fan base at the conventions, my customers, it's always super polite. We have a great time. It's not just, oh, you buy my things, all right, now you can leave my table. No, I sit there, we
Clean my
chat, we
table.
talk about what's going on. And, yeah, we talk about what's going on in movies and games and comics, all that stuff. Because I want feedback as well. I want to know what's going on. They want to know as well. And it helps make the products that I'm working on now even better because I'm looking and listening to what they want in books uh, and what they're craving at the moment.
Vinny, can I
And
ask you how you first
now,
started working for Todd McFarlane?
yeah, I was a huge fan of his. So I was just finishing up high school, and he had in one of his books they were actually looking for artists for his companies. They didn't give, I think, all the proper details of what they're looking for, but I know they needed some in like his toy division, and it's like they had like a little call out in one of their books.
Wow.
So my brother Frankie had the idea. He goes, "Well, everyone's sending in portfolios, right?" He goes, "Why don't we send in a videotape?" So that's what we did. We
Mhm.
filmed some of the work like that. It was different. It stood out, and we got the call to check it out and have an interview. When I went up for the interview, it's like I practically started working the first day and like never left,
Did they treat you like raw
which was kind of
material where they were like, all right, Vinny, now we're going to show you how we like to do things? And, you know, you know what I mean? Like really have you execute
uh
their visions or how did they work with you?
well okay well more there was more collaboration in the beginning uh,
Hmm.
between a lot of people because all right, so how it would work is the designer would come up with an idea, a figure, a pose, whatever, and start like developing the details on it. Then it would it would have to get like an approval process from Todd. If he had key points that he wanted, things he was looking for, it'd go back to the drawing board, tweak up some of what he wanted, or just do a brand new drawing altogether. Uh, but it was about pleasing Todd first, and then coming up with like what's the next coolest thing we could do? How do we keep the envelope?
Yeah,
So
of
like
course, he
the very
always had
first thing that I
something to
got to
say, though.
work on,
I'm pretty sure.
well, obviously it's got his name on it, right?
Yeah.
So the McFarlane monsters, um, they had two versions. They had done. Hold on. Did I cut out?
We got you.
You got me? Okay. I
Mhm.
had a little problem with my computer there. So like I believe the very first monsters that he had done were like little playsets, but he wanted to do like an actual traditional figure, like 7 inches or whatever of his version. So done Frankenstein, uh, Dracula, and a sea creature. And the Dracula and the sea creature went through a lot of different changes, and a lot of people put different input on. But the Frankenstein was closer to what I had. And the guy who was running the studio, there were two brothers who ran his design studio in Jersey. So he came in and he said like Todd was kind of looking for something a little extra on top of it, because they liked the pose I had, they liked what I was going, but then like they added like one extra element to it. But essentially like that whole figure was pretty much flying. So that was like the very first one. Cool. And then it went down to the sculpting department after that. And yeah, the sculptor do what he has to do, and then sometimes these figures get passed around multiple artists. Then they'll start to put in extra details, maybe an extra buck here or there, or depending on what the character needs. But it was an interesting environment like that. But over time, I had done so great with the design aspect of things. Things ran very smoothly. I essentially, when I got there, the guy who ran the studio, he had piles and piles of work like burying his desk. Wow. So within the first 2 weeks of me working there, he had like nothing on his desk anymore. Wow. I was taking care of everything design-wise. Yeah, so it was pretty amazing. But yeah, like I got to work on stuff like Kiss, their toy line. We even did like little busts of them, like these little statue busts. Wow. That they were on these pillows. Dude, it was amazing. But while I was there, there's a couple projects that never came out that we just couldn't get them to work. The guy who created Aliens, that Geiger. Sure.
Yeah.
That artist. Yeah, we were going to do a couple of things with him, and they had like these reliefs. So there were like 4 different ones, and like you put them, and they would make one like huge image, right? So we were trying to figure out how to get it to work properly, and no exaggeration, there was like maybe I think 6 or 7 different engineers who to interview, and they made it look like they wanted them like a full-time thing or whatever, but they didn't. They got them in the office just to figure out if they could mess around with these pieces to see if they could get them to work.
Oh, that's funny.
And none of them could. Wow. The guy had, how his art was, and they were over-sexualized. So it's like these like kind of alien-looking women with the tits and the nipples, and then it's like, well, how do we get this cock piece to work going into the next relief where it looks natural and seamless? And then they were like, oh my God, how would any store carry these? Right.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
They were all like highly.
That's the fun thing about like,
sexual thing.
That's the fun thing about this industry is you do see a lot of crazy creative stuff that you never could even imagine. And
oh my God,
well, I could tell how he thinks. McFarlane doesn't necessarily go. He doesn't think in the the usual corporate way where it's like, okay, well, this is out right now, so this is a trend, and let's follow that trend. He looks at who's gonna buy it, and he looks at who actually holds the share of the market as far as spending dollars. So like moms and then old school collectors, or moms that buy toys for their kids or whatever, but that line of what he puts out on that is going to be different than what he's going to do for guys like us that are not creators in this, but comic book collectors for a long time, or sci-fi or whatever,
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't think the way everyone else thinks.
No, because it's the same thing with anyone else. If you're a big, like a movie or something like that, wouldn't it be pretty cool to have a statue or a figure of the main character? It was like that mindset of, because it's even like one of those conversation pieces. Like, oh, you have a Freddy Krueger, man, that looks good though. It's that kind of angle that he took. It wasn't just okay. Most kids are afraid of Freddy Krueger, so we're not going to make a figure of that. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
No, there's a gigantic fan base for Freddy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and how about trying to make those happy? It was that way of looking. It's
Yeah.
just perspective. It's
And
the smartest way of going.
we'll see, we'll let let them figure out if they want to buy it, like as far as if they're like, well, if the kids see it on the table, they're gonna go crazy and get scared. And it's like, well, those are like those outlier cases that are not necessarily gonna outweigh the amount of people who are gonna want to buy it simply because it's an iconic character.
Now, there was another company that you worked at that was famous for the Ninja Turtle toys called Playmates. Did you what kind of stuff did you work on when you were at Playmates? Did you do any turtles?
I never worked at Playmates.
Oh, I thought you worked at Playmates. Well, other than Todd's place, then where did you work?
No. Toy Biz.
Oh, Toy Biz.
Toy Biz Marvel.
Okay.
Yeah. I did some designs for Spider-Man that actually, like, years later, they ended up using some of these designs in other areas of.
Wow.
I thought it was like exclusive to the toy side of it, so I should be getting a piece on top of it. That's one. Two, I was actually supposed to draw Spider-Man. I got screwed out of the contract 2 weeks before I went to go sign it. Thanks, Joe Q. So yeah, no, I've had an interesting career.
Yeah, you've done a lot of interesting
But
stuff. Who knew? Who knew it was possible? And now
that's
you're
for sure. Yeah, because I even
killing it in comics and COMICSGATE, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But it's
well, that's why, because I I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. What you said? You had enough with other people making decisions for you.
Well, more or less. I mean, yeah, because the big two kind of, I've had encounters with both of them that were very odd, where a higher up definitely wanted me on a project and then got screwed over later on, or like there was, it only works with like the top big names. So there's a lot of strange shit that goes on. So if people want to know like stream is going the way it is, it's because essentially they need to clean house. There's a lot of bad blood in there, and they're keeping, and it's the gatekeeping aspect of it.
Yeah.
So the newer names aren't getting a fair shot. So, for me, I love comics. I want comics, and I don't need anyone telling me what I can or can't do. So that's when and I mean, with all the fans that I talk with, they're all on the same page. Why aren't everyone listening? Why aren't the whole world? Why are they acting the way they are? It drives me effing bananas. Listen to the fans.
Just
give them that.
Just recently, EVS said that he's like, I know all your secrets. He's like, I know where you got everything buried, because he said that people try to act like there's nothing going on. He's like, but this is why it's breaking down because of that. Because he's like, they've got all sorts of things going on. Yeah, and they've got all sorts of things going on there, and there's secrets and all kinds of stuff. He's like, I know all your secrets. Yeah. That's what he said.
Oh, I know exactly what he's talking about. Exactly, because I've seen the same things.
Man,
because he was referring to their behaviors.
I want to know. You got some dirt. I want to hear it.
Well, that's the thing. Most of these people, they're always trying to preach, like their how people should be treated, and they think this way or that way. They're pushing the women's rights stuff. I've had friends who actually were working with, like, DC, for example, someone who was a writer, and she had a couple of like short stories and things that were starting to get knowledge over there, and they had signed her for a project that ended up getting shelved, let it sit there, and they never released it. But they liked having her around. Like, they brought her to a Comic-Con or whatever, and one of these editors, there was supposed to be a big party. He couldn't make it, so he sent her with another friend of his, and you could see like someone to do the moves. They have the dirty dealings. They, essentially like how drunk high school kids would act. That they try to trap a girl in a room by themselves and like, oh, now you're with me, here, drink this, do that. It's a lot of scummy tactics, because it's essentially, from what I've seen, they're nerds or they've been losers most of their lives.
Yeah.
And now they have a position of power.
So
It's that Me Too movement. Don't forget, it happened there too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It had happened there too, if you
I
remember.
don't look, let me tell you something. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it because even with like an Image, right? What you call it, Liefeld, right? And this is what I was told. You know, I didn't see it personally, so I don't know. But like,
well, let me just stop you just for 1 second. I would say we're better off. We just better watch it with if we're going to mention anybody's name.
This is from like the 90s. This is
yeah,
like
but Liefeld, he's
he's
still kind of out there, and he's still kind of out there in the world, and so he has like left comics. So we don't know rumors, but I know some rumors I've heard about some of the Image guys and getting mixed up with some stuff that's not such great stuff. But
that's basically
when people do wild stuff when they're young, whether it's true or not, or those guys. But let's put it this way: the COMICSGATE guys, we love comics. We love the comics we're making. We're putting them out through Indiegogo first, 99% of us. And I'm hoping that we get them into other places. I am hoping we can all get opportunities for foreign reprints. So some simple stuff like that. Even like, when you're printing your color graphic novel, you can change the plate. Is what just very basic stuff. If it's offset, even you can change the plate and just print some extra copies with it in a different language just by changing the wording. But you need a relationship with foreign publishers. But there's comic book publishers all over the world: France, Germany, Australia, Brazil, and some of in the UK and Australia particularly, they're already doing English. So you don't even need another language.
The way that I would do it is, honestly, I wouldn't even worry about publishers myself. I mean, just me personally, I would actually just redo it in that different language and just sell it myself. And just just market to them, get someone who speaks the language and can do all of the social media stuff and all that, set up the campaign and just sell it myself. And the reason I would do that is simply because when I was with a band, I was promotional and sales and all that. For you to go through a label, you've got to pay the girl who does her nails at the front desk. You got to pay the guy who, goes and grabs coffee. You got to pay all these people. So instead of selling a CD for $10 and only getting $1 back from each CD, why not sell it for $10 and take all the money?
If you can make it direct to consumer happen, you do it. But for example, in comics, because the publishers exist, there's not that much hustle. It's just a publisher is interested in it for their market or they're not. So, for example, I did a book called 500 Things My Cat Told Me, which I'm going to start.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they just wrote us a check. I mean, I thought they were kidding, but they weren't. So they just wrote me a check as a $1,200 advance for the Italian rights to 500 Things My Cat Told Me. And I had no previous plans to do the book in any kind of multiple languages. But it's kind of a perennial seller and it still sells. And there are people that are starting to get to know me and be interested in me. And for people that like cats that are interested in me, actually it is on Amazon now. But I'm going to start offering it through the campaigns too, because it's fun and it's Adam and it's not going to be zombie centered or anything. It's just a fun novelty book. Some of us love cats and some of us like to give them as items like that as gifts. But so the point is, there are publishers, though, that are big on doing graphic novels in multiple countries, and they have customers, they have distribution, and for them, they just look at it as like, all right, well, it's existing content, it fits into our line. Adam, you've got a zombie book, we'll pay you whatever, maybe $25 a page for the rights to do it in Spanish for a certain amount of time, and that helps to cover production costs. So I look at somebody like Starblaze, which comes out tomorrow from Kyle Ritter. He's self-publishing his first book right now, and he's going to have success. No one is going to let Kyle not make money.
Oh my gosh! Don't even.
Not going to happen.
I know it.
At the same point, if there were 3 publishers,
that dude's going to crush it.
Yeah, he's going to do great. But if there were 3, but he's used to working for a paycheck. So if we had a way, and I don't have names, I haven't organized this, and I'm going to start to look into it though, because a lot of people are asking as I mention it. But if we have a list of 10 publishers that we send a sample PDF to so they can be familiar with what our availability is, and just say, listen, if you want it for this language, here's the rate. Let us know. But if we lined up publishers for projects, it really helps with production costs just to know that you have it in the bank, and you could put that much more into the project. You know, I was talking to Von Klaus about this, about with Monster MD last night. He's like, you think people would really be interested? I'm like, hell yes, people would be interested in German or a French version of people in the US would be interested, just even if we can't read French. I don't know French, but would I buy a French version? Yeah, I buy a French version of that book for 25, but why not?
That book would sell the most in Spanish. And
really?
reason I'll tell you, the reason why I tell you that is because it's a horror book, and whether it's Spain or Mexico, there's just a thing about horror, because you also got to think of the religious aspect. There's the superstitions in some things. There's also Santeria and things like that. So people like that type of thing. There's what's his name, Armin, the guy from Saturday Night Live. He's got a show that's in it's either in Mexico or Spain, and it's called Los Spookies, and it's like a comedy horror thing, but it's really popular, you know what I mean? And so it's got like stuff, supernatural and all that stuff in there. So I mean, that to me, I feel like would really like.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to commit to help us on this, because I'm the one who's bringing it up. I'm the only one with some experience, and I have a couple of other friends in publishing that have done much more than I have, and have done it with this translation stuff, and also some licensing stuff that they've done. I've got to talk to them. I'm not looking to make a business of this. I'm just looking that if I can, help some friends out and they're more successful and we all build our base together, it's great. But the truth of it is who knows? Because ultimately somebody has to. Everything takes time, and that's why we don't do certain things. But there are a lot of things that are not impossible. Last night I was talking with Vaughn about a hardcover edition of Monster MD, and he was like, I was thinking of that, but it seemed like it would be too expensive for the whole run. I'm like, no, you could do like 100 of them that are hardcover, just make it really special. And of course he's interested in that. So I just got to do a little bit more. I don't know who has time for everything. We got to make time. It's too important because, like you said, Alejandro, a lot of the advice that Ethan gives, it's so valuable and he's so correct, but some of it is EVS specific or, Mike Miller specific. And it also implies that, like, for example, we could do a book as good as Cyberfrog. We just have to pay a creative team, more money than they would make, working for DC or something like that. He's like, all right, so $50,000.
More money than they would make working at Burger King. That's basically.
Yeah, well, I'm saying is that if you want a phenomenal artwork, you pay for phenomenal artwork. And back in the day, in the 90s, the way you do it is you pay people like $1,000 a page, and you get $1,000 a page worth of work. Now you could do it cheaper, but my point is, we have to work at a level where people could spend 3 or 4 days on a page like Ethan does and have it look amazing, and that they made reasonable money for their time. He pays Kyle twice as much as DC pays for their best colorists, but Kyle spends as much as 2 days on a page. So it's not like, Kyle is making an absolute fortune. He's putting in a tremendous amount of work to make their books look so good.
I will say that I do see some colors that work on some books from Marvel and DC. And, with what we hear about the way that they're paying people now, I'm just like, wow, this guy or whoever is doing this level of work, and they're probably not even getting hardly anything for it, and I'm just like, wow, that's crazy, like to be that good at, I'm talking about just colorists. I mean,
so we got a lot of possibilities. The main thing for us is we stick together, we help each other out. The Alejandro plan is a great plan. It dovetails very well with what COMICSGATE is, but not everybody is going to be, number one top tier COMICSGATE with that existing audience of 100,000 people to be able to jump. If one of the regular original COMICSGATE guys has a project, Ethan has to make it, and he always is going to make it in his business to promote those things so that they hit a certain number, and that makes sense. But absolutely, you know, I look at it the same way you do, Alejandro, is we're out here, we're doing our own thing. If we have an opportunity to be on Ethan's show, it's fantastic. But if not, just like you said, we're all on his show because other people are going to mention us. We're all building COMICSGATE, and Ethan is COMICSGATE. And regardless of some other people that feel like they don't need it anymore, he's not giving up on COMICSGATE, which is great. And
no, of course not.
No, and it just keeps getting bigger. And
don't.
What's that? What's that, Vin?
Yeah, but guys, don't forget. I mean, he does try to help out the smaller guys.
Oh, he does great.
I said he does try to help out the smaller guys, but people seem to forget that. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. People seem to forget who he really is. So it's like if he does come across a project and he likes it, he's going to push it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not that because I know a lot of people start to because my first project. Yeah, my first project. He had invited me on when we were on someone else's stream, but then he got busy. He was fighting with a lot more people. Then he moved, but. You know, you don't take that to heart. You just keep plugging away, doing.
Oh,
and then eventually, if you cross paths again, and luckily I crossed paths again, and everything was fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's people seem to lose track of that. They think, they think that they have to go.
Yeah, and see, and here's
it's the end of the world.
Here's the thing about me, right? If I get on EBS's show, great, fine. If I don't, who cares? Because that's why I mentioned about what I did before with selling these CDs and promoting these CDs. We were at a time when MySpace was an infant. Facebook had just barely been a twinkle in what's his name's eye, had just been starting to even be known somewhat. We did no shows, no video, no radio, nothing. Just simple one-on-one. Hey, what kind of music do you like? And then in a year and a half, we sold 20,000 plus units. At $10 a pop, sometimes $60 a pop, 20, whatever. People were just like, man, dude, I respect what you're doing. Boom, here, give me 2 CDs, dropping me $70. The guy it's his album. He's like, just give me my 5 out of it, and you keep the rest. It's all bonus for you, And the thing that he was teaching me was, he's like, people like to get a check to keep them in check, he's like, but if you come out here, and that's why I translate all of this into what we're doing here, is like, I don't need to worry about someone else doing something. I'm going to go do what I used to do, think up ideas, like going downtown to all the paper machines on Sundays and taking our flyer when we had the studio and putting it, pay one price, open it up and put one in each of the machines, put in the next one, keep it moving. And then people are like, how did you get in? You were in the newspaper and, you had this quality flyer in there. Well, I mean, I don't understand, but just coming up with these ideas that are just outside the box that people aren't thinking of because they're stuck in that mentality of, I need to be under somebody else.
Yeah, no, we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done right. We're going to have a lot of really happy fans, and that's how we're going to roll. All right, guys, let's wrap it. Let's have a great night. I appreciate you guys, giving us 2 hours together like this. It was real. I'm really glad you had a chance to spend time with Alejandro tonight. And see who's heading up CG Delta.
Yeah.
I mean, you see now you heard him. Now it's like, all right. Now it's like, all right. Now you know what? Maybe we should start looking for some people that could speak Spanish. Start looking at some social media in Spanish for comics. This. I didn't even think of it, but you know what? I'm sure there are self-publishers publishing in Spanish and some great relationships. Maybe we meet some more talent that way too. Maybe we can bring some of our stuff to them. They can bring some of their stuff to us. And my friend, I was talking to my friend Mark, who's a comics guy too, and he was telling me, Adam, I heard your video. I did a video about expanding distribution for COMICSGATE on AdamEveryday.com, this YouTube channel right here. You can check it out. He's like, I love your video. He's like, but I think we should be direct to consumer, just like you said, Alejandro. And I'm thinking, all right, yeah, Mark, but we're gonna I really gonna sell comics in Portuguese in Brazil direct to consumer. Like, if some publisher will just write me a check.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing about that is what I just said. Just so we can finish and cap it off at this, for you to get it, you're gonna sell. Let's say you sell 20,000 copies, right? You sell 20,000 copies, and then you take home your money, and you calculate, and you look at it, and you're like, wow, I made this amount of money and I had to sell 20,000 to this guy to do it when I could have just sold and had 300 backers, and I would have made the same, if not more.
Well, truth to be told, because we know what we're doing a little bit, if we were to go into 2 different Spanish language markets for comics direct to consumer, and we helped organize the locals there the way we're kind of doing it with us right now, and we know this YouTube game and we know how to get the word out, we might actually be able to, be the EVSs in Espanol and Mexico y Spain, Español. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, we might really be able to dominate because we could take this game and do it someplace else in addition to doing it here and trying to figure out how to, collaborate and spread the word even that much more. I mean, maybe even just by helping those guys, they'd be like, oh, you guys are cool, and just because they like that we're helping them, they could, help us get our stuff out there too and spread the word. Right. So yeah, it's a good point, Alejandro. And
yeah, EBS had plenty of people that have backed his book that don't speak English at all.
So why not have some Spanish people back?
Right.
Yeah, and it's stupid for me to think too. Like, wait a minute, hold on a second. Of course,
don't give away your money. Don't give away your money. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, it's your ATM. You don't go give it to somebody else. You don't give your payment.
I know guys
to somebody.
I know guys in Spain that know English. They can buy my English books too. It doesn't have to be Spanish comics.
My story editor is Spike Valentine. He's worked for Marvel. He does stuff for Bleeding Fool and other people. So he could easily help me and do translation. I mean, I can speak Spanish, but writing it and all that is a little different for me.
Well, we can get help with translation. Yeah, what's funny is, like, now that we're talking about it, like, I know Canales too is in Spain. We know people in Spain who are into comics, who
Adam,
also speak English.
Adam, lock it. Hold on, sorry to interrupt. Lock it on your screen.
Oh yeah,
right now it's a logo that you're locked on the wrong one.
I'm locked on the campaign. No, City of Venus.
No.
Is he locked on Deltaverse?
On YouTube, it's the no, he's locked on my lumberjack. I think you fixed it now.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I like your lumberjack. It looks like you're mad. I like that you're mad, and then the light comes around you and stuff like that. But I'm on the campaign. City of Venus. Everybody should be backing it. Back the hell out of it.
Yeah.
But our plan for tonight so far is right. So I've convinced myself that everyone else is right. I'm wrong on this one. But we don't even need to sell Spanish comics to people in Spain. We can sell English comics to people in Spain. The thing of it is if we have some guys who are already in Spain that have social media, which a lot, who doesn't? Everybody does now. Yeah, we got to start looking around. But we're busy with other stuff that we're doing. But we'll put it on the list and we'll start figuring.
You have a campaign. You just look at the analytics and it tells you where everybody's coming from. If you see that there's a market, it's just like YouTube. It's the same thing that I used to do. So you just look and see if there's somewhere coming from there, then you start pulling from there. And otherwise, you just translate and there you go.
Yeah, I like it. All right, gentlemen, let's call it.
I had on my campaigns. That's true. No, I was saying on my campaigns, I think I've mailed pieces to like 15 or 16 different countries.
Wow.
Not all of them.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I've got getting them.
Some people out of Australia, Finland, just off the top of my head, they're kind of all over the place, which is great. Just and then they're happy to get stuff. They're happy to they find cool stuff there. All right, we're gonna pick this up again, and we'll have a meeting of the minds, and we'll try to figure it out. And
all right.
A great night, gentlemen. Thank you again so much.
Good night.
Take it easy.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Cool, man.